future trends, deep insights, industry leaders. This is the iGaming Next podcast with your host, Pierre Lindh.
Rapid Fire News is back. Hello, Nico. How are you this lovely Friday morning?
I'm doing good. Although I'm not hosted and being allowed entering your office once again, right?
Really? Why is that?
But because I flew back to Munich once again. Maybe this is also connected to just having way too much pina coladas, which we finally did, going to the beach. But then we just had to get some work done. So back to normal life. How are you doing these days in Malta, Pierre?
Yes, back behind the screen now, Nico. I must say, I enjoyed our conversation last week, albeit severely mentally handicapped, you could say. Not in my finest hour after the shenanigans of the conference here the day before, but I really enjoyed it regardless to see you in person. But we are back behind the screen now, and here in Malta everything is fantastic, everything's good. The sun is shining today, albeit yesterday we had, the sky was falling down, and it's always like it is in Malta a couple of times a year. We have heavy rainfall and then all the streets flood. And everyone is equally surprised every year when the streets flood. The infrastructure minister is like, "Oh, we didn't expect this to happen," but then people are wading in, in waist deep water, and it looks like 2009 catastrophe footage from the tsunami in Japan, and then it just keeps on happening the next year again. But that's Malta, There's always something exciting here.
Yeah. So we are facing the same in Germany as well, because out of a sudden during winter times it actually starts snowing, right? And as soon as it starts snowing, people are getting mad. And as of now, if you just take a look outside the window, it snows actually here in Munich, right? So we will be facing some traffic jam, and unexpectedly it started to snow by the 26th of November already. Everybody's looking forward to Christmas times and snow all over the place, but in the end most of the people don't like the side effects of snow with respect to it's getting cold, it's getting slippery, etc.
Well, after living on an island with 457 days sun a year, or whatever the advertisement says, then you start missing that weather a little bit. I must admit that to you, Nico. But that aside, as exciting as things are here in Malta, I know that in the iGaming industry, it's equally exciting times at the moment. And we keep saying this every week, but this industry never sleeps. There's always something that's happening, and that's what keeps us busy, obviously, what keeps us coming back here on the Friday. So Nico, what's up in the iGaming industry lately?
First of all, indeed it is like you said, right? Every week, literally every week, we are confronted with hot topics. It's not like, we need to dig deep to find something. It's quite obvious, the things we are talking about and the things which are circulating within our industry, right? One of the hot topics is Florida. So the Seminole tribe running the Hard Rock Casino and the sports betting, which they started by 1st or 2nd of November, they had been called due to a federal court decision to put their sports betting on hold. Or as of Tuesday, they still accepted wagers. So there will be something coming up. What has happened? First of all, thanks to Daniel Gretzer, who gave some deep insights about the overall ruling and what's behind this. Because in the United States, Florida, the state of Florida, they don't have sports betting licenses. But the Seminole tribe is allowed, due to the tribe law, to actually offer sports betting or gaming in the state. But this is based on a local decision, local court rule. And as of now, with the federal court, it's the higher level literally putting this to a hold. And this is based on a $20 million fund, which is backed by the heavyweights of DraftKings, FanDuel, etc., to actually literally force people to take another look at this. And as of now, the decision is that the Seminole tribe running Hard Rock is not allowed officially to offer sports betting. What's the good for the industry? First of all, as of now, the Seminole tribe, they are running Florida on a monopoly. So they are the only one offering sports betting and casino in the state of Florida, which belongs to the four biggest states in the US. And of course, it's a big state. And all the heavyweights, as I just mentioned, FanDuel, the DraftKings, they have some interest to actually enter this market as well. So that's why they are backing this $20 million fund to open the market. And with an open market, this is always a good thing for customers, as competition actually happens. With a monopoly, there ain't no competition, because you can just either take the one offer or you don't take the one offer. But as soon as there's competition happening, you're able to decide whether you like the product or not, but you can switch over to another product. So for sure, it's quite interesting what's happening in Florida as of now.
Absolutely, and just to comment on this as well. I mean, we're talking, like you mentioned, about one of the big four, as the four bigger states have been named here, which consist of New York, California, Texas, and Florida. And even though there's a temporary ban now on sports betting in Florida, it seems that the industry at large is quite happy about this move, because potentially, as you're saying, this opens up for other operators to be able to compete in this market. And our friend Daniel Grassner, the CEO and founder of Carousel Group that operates MaximBet in the United States, he said that the expectations of this market is huge, of course, and even in this short space of time that Hard Rock has been operating, the rumors are that Hard Rock has been doing extremely well in this state. And so the expectations again on the market seems to be valid in that regard, that once the state opens up, it can be a bit of a game changer for online sports betting in the United States as in its entirety. And this can again push the market forward into profitability areas. This is what is needed, obviously, these type of steps to open up these major states in order to eventually make the larger market profitable for the major operators that are currently pushing in a lot of marketing and not making profit. So I would say a very interesting move, and it's now the state of Florida is definitely where all the eyeballs are at the moment in the US sports betting, together with New York, of course.
And just to back up the what you've just said, so the Seminole tribe, they have already made two 37.5 million revenue sharing payments to the state. So it's $75 million just during the time they're operating. You know, we're speaking about 3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks. So this is big money, big revenue. And if I'm not mistaken, by 2025, they're expecting just the market of Florida having a value of 5 billion.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Jesus
so
Christ.
it's big numbers. It's big numbers, and of course, the heavyweights of DraftKings, FanDuel, etc. They have a high interest in just opening the market, as it's just big money to earn.
Exactly. So that $20 million fund in order to lobby and overturn this legislation seems to be a good investment. In other words.
And for sure, it's in the good faith for the customers, right?
Yes.
That's that will be very, very interesting to see how it actually evolves, because as of now they're still operating.
Yes, exactly, and that will be. I'm sure we will do a follow up on this story in the in the follow up weeks as well, because the last word is not said here, and then obviously the Seminole tribe and Hard Rock obviously defending their position in this market and so on. So I'm sure there will be more updates here, but it's a battleground state now. To borrow a political term, Florida is where it's at the moment.
Picking up the phrase battleground, we're seeing another battleground, because Gopher, they withdrew their offer from the Playtech bidding war. So as of now, Gopher, as we already mentioned, is one of the second leading investor in Playtech already, and as ASX games manufacturer Aristocrat Leisure, they already put an offer out there to acquire Playtech for £2.7 billion. Gopher, who are advised by Rothschild, a very famous M&A and bank, they had been reviewing a counter offer of £3 billion. And as of now, another player joined the club. JKO Play is a consortium led by former Formula One team owner Eddie Jordan and Keith O'Loughlin at Scientific Games, and they already came up with an offer of £3 billion, and that's why Gopher, they actually withdrawn their offer of $3 billion. But as of now, it's Aristocrat and JKO Play fighting to take over Playtech. So it's 2.7 versus 3 billion, and now we're just waiting for the counter offer again. But for sure, this ain't the last time we've been speaking about Playtech and the acquisition of Playtech. Yeah.
I mean, Playtech is being courted more than a high school cheerleader, but just before the ball at the moment. It's interesting, and you can also question why is this happening now and not a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when Playtech were in a bigger standing in this industry. And to me, the answer to that is that there's a clear push of investment happening right now into the live casino space, particularly. Playtech is number 2 behind Evolution currently in the live casino space. One of the few organizations that have, let's say, figured out the live casino space, although they have difficulties to establish themselves in the US. They are just about to launch, but they still haven't. Behind Evolution, who still have a monopoly in that market. But others are, and investment banks and institutional investors are seeing the share price of Evolution and the meteoric rise that Evolution has had in the last couple of years, and obviously they are seeing an opportunity here that invest in a live studio and try to grow it to become a serious competitor to Evolution, and hopefully be able to increase share value that way, just because the product is so hot, and obviously it has the future ahead of itself. Now, that doesn't come without its challenges, right? Look at NetEnt back in the day. NetEnt launched NetEnt Live in response to Evolution's meteoric rise, and this was still 6-7 years ago. And funnily enough, NetEnt had been trying to acquire Evolution several times throughout the years, and without being able to do so. And this resulted, of course, in Evolution eventually acquiring NetEnt. But NetEnt's launch of the live casino wasn't necessarily that successful. They were not able to figure out the infrastructure and the scaling of this product, and eventually it failed. And once Evolution bought NetEnt, they closed down the studios then, of course. And so the influx of investment that is being seen now in the live casino space, in the likes of State Logic launching their live product, obviously the other week, Scientific Games, they acquired Authentic Gaming, Playtech being courted left, right, and center, and Micro Gaming do a new launch of their on-air entertainment, which is launching today. Okay, there's a new player on the market, new live casino player on the market, and other investments that are happening in the space too. Bombay Studios of Team Heat is a major investor in the industry. It's another serious contender now as well. But it doesn't come without its challenges, and the scale and the infrastructure is what is holding competitors back from being at arm's length from competing with Evolution. Evolution has built this product for 15 years. Evolution launched 2006 and has been perfecting the infrastructure and the scaling of this product for the last 15 years. And so they are alone in the market to reach that scale, and that is for the simple reason that they have been focused on the live product and nothing else. Playtech, on the other hand, the number two, they have another 10 services in their organization to kind of capture the 360-degree angles of the industry in order to spread their wings really wide, let's say, and capture a lot of different segments within the industry. Evolution has just been focused on the live product, and that's it, because it's a very, very complex product. And so to me, it will be interesting to see as we move forward if any of these new competitors that are entering the market and the influx of revenue, what that is going to lead to. We will for sure see some of them failing. I would not be surprised. And perhaps, and sooner or later, there will be someone who manages to break out and seriously compete with Evolution. The question is just how long time is that going to take? And when it happens, how solidified is Evolution in the lobbies of the major operators in the United States, for example? Are you going to be able to compete with them and enter several US states and US markets and so on? It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of revenue, and a lot of patient shareholders that should not be underestimated. Shareholders need to be aware that if you go into an investment of this magnitude, you need to be in it for the long haul and not expect short-term revenue. There will be losses before there will be green numbers.
Yeah, and touching down, as you'd already mentioned, there has been some madness going on, right? The overall stock price being in a free fall. If you just put it on a 5-day perspective, and I know you're quite keen on the Evolution topic, not just keen but also well informed. Do you have any insights? What's behind, first of all, the allegation of Evolution? And if I'm not mistaken, they already responded to the allegation. Could you just speed us up a little bit on the overall Evolution topic as well?
Yes, I think most people who are listening today, this is the topic that they want to kind of understand and get their head around. And I want to mention as a starting point here, I think at the moment there is a lot of speculation, and it's not really, I mean, it's very difficult to know who can give a solid opinion from a legal perspective here. So I think it's very important to take that into account when we have this discussion, that it's still a lot of speculation, and it's anyone's guessing game what this will lead to at the moment. But I'll give my 2 cents here in general, and I'll do a quick recap what has happened on the Evolution front, because this is potentially news that can change the industry, really. That's I think it could potentially be of that magnitude. So there's a short seller report that came out the other day, a couple of days ago, a week ago, or something along those lines, which is funded by an anonymous competitor of Evolution. At least this is the claim from this short seller. The short seller says that it's a American-based competitor. Now, this comes from the short seller itself. If that is true or not, that is another discussion, but that is what is claimed, okay? And this short seller report is a 100-page report, which basically accuses Evolution of offering games to markets that are, amongst other markets that are under US sanctions, such as Iran and Syria, and as well as other black markets in general, China and so on and so forth. Now, what the reports basically states is it's two parts. There's two major things that is pointing towards. First of all, it's they have been interviewing two executives at Evolution. One of them, which is currently working at Evolution, and another one, which is a former executive of Evolution. Now, both of these two are anonymous sources. It's important to mention as well, so we don't exactly know who they are or if they even exist, let's say. And they have been going into great detail on how Evolution perceives and how they see revenue from these nefarious markets. It's really important to point out that Evolution is a B2B supplier. They don't have active engagement with customers. The customers, they play at an operator site, and Evolution supply the games to the operator. So the argument that Evolution is responding to with this report is that Evolution does not have any power to decline players, because that is up to the operator. It is the operator responsibility to see that they are following their requirements from local licenses and not operate in illegal markets. However, what the short seller is arguing through these anonymous sources is that Evolution does have insight in what IP addresses are playing with them, and even if they come through a VPN, that Evolution are still able to see where, to first of all see that a VPN is being used, and in some cases as well, even where the IP is located from. So this is the argument that the short seller says, and in the report, basically, there are a number of examples when they basically try to play games through an operator from black markets basically, through using a VPN and kind of manipulating the system in order to sign up to these operators and play. Now, the reason I say that I think that this is potentially paradigm shifting news is, again, I am not an expert on the legal side whatsoever, so it's really hard to say what like legally who is in the right and who is in the wrong here. But again, if you take the argument of Evolution that we do not have any responsibility as to where the player comes from, that is up to the operator. Well, the question still becomes what ethical responsibility from ESG perspective does Evolution have to do due diligence on their operators and aggregators, right? So the aggregators is another step in between Evolution and the player. It basically becomes Evolution, the aggregator, the operator, and then the player. So if Evolution has a contract with an aggregator, they don't necessarily know which operators are active with that aggregator. It's another step between, basically. But the question still remains then, from a ESG perspective, what responsibility Evolution has to do due diligence. And so I think that is potentially where the question will shift to. And if investors set demands on Evolution to or put pressure, and if media and investor put pressure on Evolution to do due diligence and not accept nefarious operators, because it's quite well known who the major nefarious operators are, and they are quite big. They generate a lot of revenue. So does Evolution have an ethical responsibility to do due diligence and not allow these operators? That is the major question, and that is where the conversation will lead, in my opinion. And then there's still a lot of questions of how will the local regulators act. I mean, I am absolutely not an expert in this either, but I would assume that the local regulators care about Evolution acting in accordance to their regulation locally, not necessarily who is offering their games abroad, because again, it's not exactly tied to Evolution. So to me, it doesn't seem to be a legal issue more than it is an ESG matter, really. And so this could be an interesting discussion point for the industry. What responsibility should we take as an industry as we now grow and as we now enter the mainstream? You know, a lot of investors, there's a lot of media around sports betting, particularly in the United States. A lot of major brands are entering the mix, and they obviously don't want to be involved in any nefarious activity. So as the industry matures and as it goes mainstream, these questions will have to be answered, I think. And so that is the interesting point to me. I know that in the Clubhouse session yesterday, Nico, our dear friend Robert was talking as well about who owns a game supplier. He was talking as well about a potential solution to this on a local regulation level. Is that something you can kind of paraphrase what he spoke about?
So the thing is, what Robert gave us a sneak peek into was that, especially in Germany and the regulation in Germany, during the licensing process, you have to name the games you're offering, right? And then you as the authority have either a chance to run a whitelist, where the operators can pick like the games they want to offer, or the geolocations they are allowed to actually tackle. In Germany, it's pretty simple. It's all over Germany. So you can accept players from all over Germany offering XYZ games within the whitelist, or you have a blacklist. A blacklist is you can offer everything except the games that are named on the blacklist. And this is what Robert, the owner and founder of Hölle Games, yesterday walked us through a little bit with respect to, first of all, he wasn't able to sleep at all, and then he was kind of waving the arguments of either a blacklist or a whitelist. And then he came to the conclusion that for an operator or supplier, the blacklist is the better way to go. So as long as you are offering games which are not mentioned on the blacklist, you're able to offer them. And that was his take on the regulation and the responsibility that actually applies to the decision which will be made in Germany. Either it's becoming a blacklist or a whitelist.
Yeah, interesting stuff here. And as a final note as well, I want to mention the share price, obviously, in Evolution is super volatile right now, because everyone is trying to figure out what this actually means for Evolution going forward. Does it mean that they will bite the bullet and step away from aggregators, for example? Does it mean that they will be in some legal dispute which might cause harm in certain markets where they are licensed? Will it not lead to anything at all? You know, again, we'll talk about the short seller report, which is from a nefarious, well, not nefarious perhaps, but from a competitor, which obviously has their own interests and so on. And so we've seen yesterday, of course, the share took a plunge. I think they lost something like 16% of the share value. Why? and so far this ordeal has wiped off like $10 billion in market cap from Evolution. A lot of investors obviously keeping a very close eye on what's happening right now. And only today, in the time of this recording, we are recording this at it's 10:45 a.m. Now on a Friday morning, and the share price has already had a swing of like 11% up and down. Currently, we are up 1.5% for today, but it's had a 11% swing basically. So the share price is super volatile right now, and it feels like if you're even trying to predict what's going to happen on the share price in the next couple of weeks, I think you've already made your first mistake, because it's very difficult to say where this is going to head. It's really, really, really difficult to say. From our end, we're gonna continue to investigate this to get some more feedback, and both from a legal perspective, but also from industry experts in general, and analysts and so forth in the industry. So we will keep a very close eye on the movements here now within Evolution, and obviously Evolution, they had their press release and investor call yesterday, or the day before yesterday. But it was a kind of pre-scripted statement with Q&As, and it didn't really give much insight other than Evolution just kind of defending their position in a not so detailed way, I should say. But this is a developing story, of course, and I would assume that Evolution is going to communicate this externally to the investors. So we have seen a 30% drop in share price in just a couple of days, and that obviously justifies Evolution to communicate as well as they can at the moment. And it's not been a strong point in Evolution, the communication front to investors in general. Even the investor calls are just an audio-based version, and Martin Carlson, the CEO, is not really that public-facing in general, and so it will be interesting for me to see as well how transparent Evolution will be in this story now as we go forward. How to what extent will they communicate to shareholders, and how are they going to act as we go forward? Will they, the moment they say, for example, that we will be better at doing due diligence to our operators, they have kind of conceded that the short seller is correct. And so it's really difficult to know how to navigate this situation from a PR perspective, because it's a minefield that they're stepping into. And if they take responsibility, there's a lot of consequences that will lead to. They will need to do a lot of due diligence on a lot of operators and aggregators, and there will be a lot of pressure from shareholders, of course, to not make these mistakes again, right? And at the same time, you could say that Evolution is a bit of a target for short sellers in this respect now, because if they concede these points, then it's just it's just a matter of time before there is another case like this where you can do the same thing. You can play through a VPN to an operator, and there will be cases falling through the shares. So you might have other short sellers who are trying to come up with similar stories on this extent and so on. So it's very difficult to be in Evolution's shoes at the moment, deciding what strategy they should pursue here in how they communicate going forward, because there is a lot of considerations left and right and center for the long term in the continued growth of Evolution. Potentially also, if they take these steps to take a step back from aggregators and from certain operators, that could obviously lead to a major loss of revenue. And so it's going to come down, in my opinion, to how much pressure is media going to put on Evolution to make a change? How educated will media be in those arguments? Because the iGaming industry is complex, and it's quite easy to miss the target if you're not from the industry. What has actually happened, and what is the right way to tackle this issue? And so it will come down to these couple of facts. How educated is media in this? And how much pressure will they put on Evolution to actually take stances? And thirdly, as well, how much pressure will the shareholders then, in effect, put on Evolution to make changes as well? And lastly, of course, what are the regulators going to say? The local regulators. Evolution has been proactive in reaching out to the New Jersey regulator, where the complaint came to, in order to have a dialogue with the regulator. Traditionally, well, not so much tradition, the US market has not been open for that long, but the stance of the US regulators has generally been that they don't really look at what the licensee holders do outside of the United States, as long as there is no legal action being taken against them. Right, so the moment China, for example, try to bring Evolution to court or complains about them, that's when the US regulator steps in and says you have to close down that market, for example. But again, Evolution is a B2B supplier, so it's important here to point out that they are not an operator; they are a B2B supplier. So it adds more complexity than if they were an operator offering games to black markets. Then it would be more black and white. But again, there's a step between the content provider and the customer here, and that is what the discussion will lead back to. So all in all, it's very difficult to say what this situation is going to lead to. So far, Evolution have lost 30% share price, a lot of pressure from investors. Evolution will need to respond to this, and it will be very interesting to a traditionally quite conservative company in terms of how they deal with PR situations, to see how they will deal with this. What's your take?
Exactly, and this just reminds me on what Elon Musk has been stating during the short selling activities around Tesla, right? Yeah. Because in the end, right, this ain't a topic related to gaming, the gaming vertical or whatever. As of now, this is a stock market game, right? So what usually does a short seller do, right? They don't have any interests in a stock market price going up. A short seller specifically aims and positioned himself or the company to actually gain money, receive money as soon as the stock price goes down, right? And if you just take a look at the overall stock market price within the 1 year scale of Evolution, beginning of last year, or this year, January, they had been a stock market price of roughly 810 Swedish crowns, right? Yeah. They rose 100% to 1,600, right? Yeah. So market cap gone through the roof, and then the overall stock market game just starts, right? Yeah. Stock market and the usual underlying KPIs of, okay, what's the expected return? What's your return on investment? What's the EBITDA? What are all the KPIs you actually measure how valuable a company actually is? As of now, and having the US market in our minds, this overall game ain't related to any KPIs anymore. It's all about expectations, how big the US market will be, what will be the evaluation within the next 2 or 3 or 5 years. And then the stock market game actually starts with people, companies actually finding their freedom and seeing a chance to actually putting a value under pressure. Then they just release like inside reports. Of course, as soon as you come up with an allegation with a company being active in the US market, as soon as you just mention they're accepting players from Syria or Iran, you put a company under pressure massively, right? Yeah. And as soon as the stock market price actually declines, the more it declines, the higher the return for a short seller will be. And that's exactly what Elon Musk was stating during short sellers actively positioning themselves just around the Tesla share. Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what's happening all over evolution as well. If you just take a look, the daily trading average yesterday, on the 22nd of November, they had been a trading value of 12.7 million shares. So on the buyer and seller side, roughly 13 million shares have been traded. And usually they rank up in between 2 and 3.5 million shares on a daily basis. So on a daily basis, it had been exceeded at least 400%, which just indicates there's something going on. And of course, that's how the short selling game is actually played. It's a dirty game. And as already mentioned by Elon Musk, it ain't just related to the company itself. It's just a stock market game, and of course they will pick up phrases and names which they will throw inside the ring and see just how the stock market price is going down, because this is their driving force to actually gain more money. And what we should not forget, because we have in the end a lot of topics just being related to the overall evolution, right? It's first of all how they position themselves in the US market. They are the leading force in the live casino offerings, as you have already mentioned. A lot of other companies are specifically aiming for the live casino market as well. Then we have the stock market game as well. And just coming back to the overall live casino, what's happening in the US as of now, based on how business works in Nevada, Las Vegas, it's mostly retail business, right? Having the next lockdown already in mind, what happens as soon as you need to shut down all the real estate businesses, the real estate casinos? Revenue will shift to the online market. And then you specifically look, okay, who are the big players in the online market? And that's why the state of Nevada, they consider a proposal to verify accounts at remote casinos online. So as of they are discussing this one, okay, having the next lockdown already in mind, people are not able to verify themselves in a real estate, right? We will offer online authentication, online verification as well. And then who are the big players in this market? And then, of course, the name of evolution comes into your mind as well. And there you see there are driving forces behind this short selling, which we don't see yet, especially as all this information as of now, the sources have not been published, and they for sure will not be published as well. But for sure, we know it's a big time game, and many billions are attached to that game. Not just the revenue of evolution, but for sure the revenue of retail casinos in Nevada as well. And as said, if the regulator is already considering changing the overall game which is played in Nevada, then you just take a look at, hey, what are the players that are actually on the field as of now? And for sure, then the established retail casinos are then facing a player like Evolution. And then you just, this game will be played like chess. You are, kind of ordering your troops, setting them in line. And then it's just a game of which investors will stick to the story of the shares they actually have, and who starts doubting the story. And that's why you have this kind of volatile movements in the evolution stock as well, right? So it's not just linked to one allegation, it's an overall and complex thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of game theory involved in this essentially, but right now it's difficult to predict this game theory. It's like the difference between chess and poker is that in chess all the pieces are on the board, and you can play out the game and come up with a strategy. In poker, there's a lot of unknowns, right? You don't know the other player's cards, and you don't know what card is going to come in the middle if you're playing Texas Hold'em. And so game theory in poker becomes much more difficult because you don't have all the information. And I feel that is where we are treading at the moment. We can see the situation for what it is right now, but it's very difficult to predict what's going to unfold next. All right, so I'm sure we'll follow up on this story next week again, Nico. And in the meantime, as well, we will speak to people who are closer to this case as well, and who can understand it from different perspectives too. So keep an eye open for that.
Yeah, and for sure, this will not be the last time we have been speaking about this this evolution, game, poker, chess, whatever. But for sure, someone is lining up his troops already, right? And we will just see how evolution will respond to this allegation.
Absolutely, Nico. Do we have anything else today to close out on a more positive note? What do you say?
Yes. we have something else which, as of now, might not just be totally related to our lovely industry of the gaming sector or the gambling sector, but it's related to Sandbox. The Sandbox and the new metaverse game, which is just blowing up. A game which has not yet been released, but the overall, it's based on a blockchain currency, and this currency is already evaluated with like $7 billion for a game which has not yet just been released. So it's quite complex. Pierre, if you can just, literally just guide us a little bit through this topic, would be highly evaluated.
Absolutely. And we keep coming back to this topic of blockchain, NFTs, metaverse. We are an iGaming podcast. Why are we bringing this up? Because I am sure that the blockchain space and the iGaming space, it's very intertwined. Like as we go into the future, the two areas will be there will be a lot of intersection between the two essentially, and so it's really important for us as an industry to keep a very close eye of what's happening in this space at the moment, because it is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing. So you mentioned here the Sandbox, the metaverse game, right? So we all know that Facebook has committed themselves to a metaverse-led future, rebranding their parent company to Meta. And since we've seen this commitment from Facebook, even though the metaverse projects had already been massively hyped before that, but after is where we're seeing an absolute explosion here. So the leading upcoming metaverse game is called Sandbox. Right, it has not just been released. It's been 4 years in the making, and it has a massive community, even though the game is not released. Right, and so what is this Sandbox? Sandbox is a game that is quite similar looking, at least, to Minecraft, with these like square, kind of pixelated images and very simple graphics and so on. And you can use this world to kind of create your own experiences and so on. Sandbox is kind of similar to that, but it's more advanced basically than Minecraft. And it has a blockchain-based economy within the game, and that is what makes it into the metaverse, which is essentially that you can live and develop and own land in this metaverse that is actually yours through the blockchain. Is secured through the blockchain, through an NFT that you're a landowner. And you can build experiences on this land, and then you can charge other players to take part in this in your experience, essentially. And a lot of bigger brands are already included in this. So, for example, Sandbox announced a partnership with Adidas just the other day, and that Adidas are now going to go into the Sandbox metaverse and have their own experiences and sell digital sneakers. That's where we're at the moment. I never thought I would utter those words, but anyway. And so where is this leading to in terms of like financials and stuff like that? As you just mentioned, the in-game currency that is blockchain based is called SAND. Is what their in-game blockchain currency is called. It has a market cap of $7 billion. Let me repeat that. $7 billion to a game. Let me repeat this again. To a game that is not released. It has no function. It has not been released yet. But it has absolutely blown up. And then you ask the question, I want to buy some digital land. Okay, that's a good question. How do you do that?
Well, one thing, Pierre, one thing.
Yep.
To put the overall kind of 7 billion into perspective, right? 7 billion, that's roughly the size of the sports betting market, yearly market for New York. Right, just to put this a little bit into perspective, as we're not just dropping numbers like 7 billion. Yeah, 7 billion sounds much, right? Ain't a few billions, ain't are a little bit more billions, close to a decathlon, right? But 7 billion is the expected market volume handling. Right, I'm not talking about GGR. It's the handle. It's the handle, right?
It's the handle.
Of New York, the state of New York sports betting, right? Just to give some insights about how much 7 billion actually is. Sorry for interrupting you, Pierre.
Yeah, it's interesting. Or you could say that it's 3 IGTs roughly, or 2 platelets approximately. But in any case, and it's on par with the market cap of EA Sports, the biggest game producer in the world, right? And so. Then you ask yourself, okay, I want to be in on this. You say now then, I want to buy myself some digital land. And so in the Sandbox metaverse, there is 170,000 plots of land. There's separate plots of land, 170,000. And and obviously all of them are sold out, of course. And if you want to buy one of these plots of land on the secondary market, which is what's happening at the moment, then the cheapest one that you will find out of these 170,000 plots of land is $20,000. $20,000 is the cheapest one you can find right now to a game that is not yet released. And so it begs the question, of course, even though the metaverse, you can see that it's the future. The writing is on the wall, the push is happening. There's other successful metaverse-based products that are really popular. Axie Infinity, for example, Decentraland are kind of the first generation of metaverses. And the Sandbox will kind of be the second generation, let's say. But even so, you must think that this is a bit of a bubble. Like there will be a correction at some point because there's so much speculation happening and so many people want to be in on it and they don't understand it. And you know what that reminds me of? 1999.com bubble. Because in 1999, the internet was the future. The writing was on the wall, right? Everyone knew that the internet was going to be the future. And so investors were desperate to invest into products that were digital products based on the internet and the future that was going to bring us. Now, it didn't mean that when the bubble burst that the internet went away. The internet was still the future, but we just saw a massive correction on the stock market where a lot of these products were overvalued or overconflated. It would be like, a company that would announce that they had a partnership with Dell or something. And because they announced it, all the investors flocked to it, invested because, okay, if Dell is on board, then it has to be serious. And same thing is what's happening now. It's like Sandbox announced their partnership with Adidas, for example. And all of a sudden, the plots of land, the prices goes up, the value of sand goes up, but it's based on this hyped up partnerships and visibility is getting. People don't even know if the game is good yet. You know what I mean? And that's where the bubble behavior is, right? And to go back to a final point here to close this up, during the IT bubble in the year 2000, Amazon was founded and was a public company by then, and it took Amazon 10 years to recover the share price that the market cap that they lost during the IT bubble. So in 1999, the market cap was the same as it was in 2009, right? 10 years later. That's how long it took for Amazon to regain the market cap to the massively overconflated market cap that it was in 1999. And so that's the risk that we are seeing in the metaverse as well, where it could easily be that the market cap of this digital land and the in-game currencies can crash 95%. But it doesn't mean that it's not the future. It just means that it's a correction, and then it takes time for the market to mature and to reach its true potential. And a final point as well is why the iGaming industry should look closely into this is again because there's the correlation between our two industries is absolutely there, and there's a lot of projects happening on the NFT side right now where gambling companies are looking into how to leverage this technology, blockchain based decentralized future, and NFT possibilities that we have not yet imagined. So in a year's time, mark my words, but we will see some incredible projects coming out that will change this industry. And 1 year later from now, we would absolutely be talking about that, saying that, oh my God, how could we not think about this? This is so obvious, but it's going to change the industry. So I want to close that off with that little Easter egg today. That keep an eye out for the metaverse, and we are definitely going to keep you updated on this topic.
Yeah, and the thing is, so we've seen some verticals entering the gaming space within the last couple of years. Just think about the binaries, right? Mm-hmm. Binaries, first of all, each and everyone was talking about binaries, virtuals as the next big thing. As of now, I don't think that binary is a big topic because they never kind of paved their way out of this niche, right? But for the NFTs, just take a look at sponsorships in the football sector, right? Inter Milan, as of now, they have Socios as an NFT on their main shirt, right? And they literally put Pirelli, who was owning the shirt for almost 20 years. As of now, it's an NFT, right, which is on the shirt. So it's not like a niche product. It's already out there. But we will just see how big it will actually become. Will it stay niche in a decent way? Because becoming the main sponsor, shirt sponsor of an established Serie A club ain't cheap, right? And for sure, this is a way for all the football clubs to actually, make fans a more decent part of the overall club based on the NFT space. So for sure, we will see some movements, but I'm pretty sure, marking your words, which you've just said like a couple of minutes ago, you're on a good track.
I think so as well. And we are committing ourselves to this now. We might also look like complete idiots in a year from now if all this goes down the drain. But it's fun to be a bit forward thinking. It's fun to speculate, and
exactly.
I think that is what we should be doing in this type of episodes.
Yeah. So what are we doing now? Heading down to the beach, having a couple of pina coladas like last week, or should I just go out in the snow and start waving my hands at the traffic jam? What's your point?
I think Nico, let's head down to the lake there in Germany. Where maybe we can pick a little hole in the ice, and we can do some fishing and drink some pina colada. What do you say?
That's perfect. That's a perfect mix of things. What's possible as of now.
Amazing. I love our Fridays together, Nico. It's fantastic. And
true.
Yeah, it's great to always do these things with you, Nico. And thank you so much. And
thanks for
we'll
having
see
me.
you here next week again. Yeah,
okay,
take care.
Bye.
Bye.